Hello, everyone. Just a quick recap. My name is Aarav, and I am back with another EV3 Lego Mindstorm video. So, in the previous video, I taught you all about the infrared sensor, and today we are going to talk about something called the touch sensor. So, this is what the touch sensor looks like, and it's pretty straightforward. You touch it, and so the main purpose of the touch sensor is to see when the robot comes in contact with something. An example is if the robot is driving into the wall and it wants to stop when it touches the wall, you would use a touch sensor and you would push against it, and once it's pushed in and said, "Okay, the robot's against the wall, so you can stop." And so throughout this video, I will be switching throughout this slideshow and then the EV3 Lego Mindstorm software so I can give you a better step-by-step example of how everything works. So let's get into it. So as we talked in the last session, the way that you can get to these different sensor blocks, so you would go to this yellow tab and then you would scroll through and you would find the touch sensor. And so I will quickly run this through in the EV3 Mindstorm software. So when you load into a new project, you will start out with you'll start in this action tab. And so say you don't know which one is the sensors tab, instead of clicking through each one, you can just hover over each one. So this one would be flow control, and then here we are, we're at the sensor tab, which holds all the sensor blocks that you would need. And so then say that you wouldn't know which one's the touch sensor block, so you go to brick. You can also hover over these, so brick buttons, color, infrared, motor, timer, and then here we are at the touch sensor. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drag that up there, and then let's move on. So now we're going to go through the different measure options for the touch sensor. So there's the measure option and then compare option. And so I'll explain how you get there. And so what you do is you have to click this and then you'll pop up the two options, but I'll show you that in the software in a little bit. So the measure option is measure the value of the touch sensor. So we'll go into that in a little bit. And then the compare is pass the value to logic condition. So let's go a little bit more into depth with that in the software. So the way we can get to the measure and compare is by clicking on this button here. And so when you go to this measure, you can press the state. And so what that does is it gives you a data line, which hopefully you've talked about. And so what that does is it takes the value of the infrared sensor. So it takes the data of it and it passes it to the other blocks to tell it what to do next. So an example is if it says it's pressed by some object, then it would send the data to the movement block or the move steering block, and it would say, okay, you can stop moving because it's pressed. And then, so the touch sensor measure compare. And then here, and then we can also talk about the compare. And so they both have the state. And so when you click on that, the only difference with this one is that it tells you like if this is true, then do this. Or it says um so this means so you can choose how the robot responds based on what the state of the touch sensor is. So as you can see here, 0 means that it's fully released or open and nothing's touching it or bothering it. Then 1 is that it's pressed fully in, like this. And then 2 is when it's pressed and then it's released. So it's just a quick motion of boom, boom. So here it's saying, well, if I choose a state, so say I choose state 0. So if it's released, then you can drive forward. But if it's pressed and this statement is not true, then don't do anything. And then we'll go through these examples down here, and especially this one. This one will clear up the compare, and then this one will clear up the measure. Okay, so here we go. So in this code, what we're saying is that in this project, the touch sensor value passes to the data block by using the data wires displayed the final values on the screen. So here's an example. So this is the math block, and right now we can see that it is in the addition. And so what it's doing is it's basically taking the state of this block, the state of the touch sensor, and so like closed, released, or just touched. And what it's doing is it's taking the 0, 1, 2 values and transferring it to the A. So it's saying A plus B, which is 1, equals, and then they take the value, the equal value of the text, and then they put it into this text button. So it's displayed on your home screen. So this would be your home screen, and so it would be displayed right in here. Okay, so just to give you a quick scenario, say that the value a was to be 1, so you're saying 1 plus 1 equals 2, so then the text would be 2. Okay, so this is the compare. This is the compare, and this is really where it gets cleared up. So it's basically saying that in this state, if it's 1, where the state of the sensor is 1, where it's pressed, then if it is true, if the statement equal is true, then you play the sound. So it's saying if it's pressed, play the sound. But then if it's not pressed and it's just released, don't do anything. Or say that it's tapped, don't do anything. It has to be pressed. And so here it is. You can see the different things. And so, oh, sorry. And then, yeah, that's about it. So thank you for watching, and bye. I'm just gonna give you some more examples on the touch sensor so you can get a better understanding and idea of what it does. So here is one example here at the top. And so what it's basically saying is it's saying wait until the touch sensor is pressed in, right? Because that's what 1 is. And 1 is pressed in, 0 is released, and then 2 is just bump. So press, just a light tap, like press and release. So, and you can change it too. So then when you go in to run the code, what will happen was if you press in, then it will make a sound. But say that it's released or you tap it, it won't make a sound. You have to keep it pressed like this in order for it to make a sound. And so moving on to the next example. So this next example is basically saying that it's just basically like almost the same thing as the first one. And so What they're saying is if you press it, then you stop. But so say that it's released or it's tapped, then it will keep on driving forward because it's in a continuous loop repeat. But then when it's tapped, it will break the loop and then this will happen. Then it will completely stop. So, for instance, one good example of this is if there's a wall here, say my hand's a wall, and then it drives forward, right? The robot just continuously drives, and then when it hits my hand, right, that's it. It's being pressed, right? So then it will completely stop. So this is another good example, and some like real life examples of this is like even yourself, right? If you are like in the dark and you're trying to navigate your way around your house and you put your hands out, and if you feel the wall, right? If your hand presses against the wall, then you'll stop. You won't go walk into the wall. So this is like a perfect example of like how your body functions too. Okay, that was it. I know that was a short one, but I just wanted to give you some more examples. So thank you.